Next news. Breaking news from the White House.
May 11th, 2026, the final day. Senator Rand Paul just laid it out. The DOJ must charge Anthony Fauci for lying under oath, or the statute of limitations expires tomorrow and the window slams shut forever. This is the man who oversaw gain-of-function research at Wuhan, told Congress it never happened, and watched doctors get silenced for even asking questions. Americans were called crazy. Careers were destroyed. Now the clock hits zero. Did the DOJ act or let the deadline pass while the public waits for answers? See, the deadline's not abstract paperwork. It hits every family still dealing with lost loved ones, damaged health, and lost trust in public institutions. Young people face rising myocarditis after mRNA shots while officials stayed silent. Communities watch small businesses crushed and kids lose years in school. Now, politically, it shows whether our justice system can still hold powerful bureaucrats accountable when they mislead Congress. If the DOJ does nothing today, the message is clear. Some people are above the law, and the fallout lands on regular Americans who paid the price while the cover-up protected the powerful. The next move decides whether accountability is real or just talk. While the political clock ticks and uncertainty grows, many Americans are looking for stability in a world of shifting policies, and here's what your financial advisor won't tell you. By the time the news tells you to buy gold, it's too late. You're waiting. I get it. Everybody's waiting to see if the ceasefire holds, waiting to see if the Strait of Hormuz opens up. Well, you're also waiting to see what happens next. But gold's not waiting for you. It moves on fear, instability, and on the unknown. It moves faster than you can react. So while you're waiting for certainty, the rest of the world is planning for what comes next. You can protect your savings today with physical gold and silver from Noble Gold Investments. Visit nextnewsgold.com or call the number on your screen to get started. That preparation keeps you ahead while others keep waiting. Now, beyond today's deadline, Rand Paul is already lining up the next strike. A whistleblower scheduled to testify under oath later this week. That testimony could finally put sworn evidence on the record about exactly what happened inside those agencies, combined with fresh data on vaccine injuries and Trump's clear stand against the World Health Organization. The pressure is shifting from a single deadline into sustained exposure. This is what Rand Paul, the senator, posted today. He said, "Today's the day the DOJ must charge Fauci for lying under oath or lose the chance forever." This man oversaw gain-of-function research at the Wuhan lab, lied to Congress about it repeatedly, and watched as you were called crazy for asking questions. The statute of limitations expires tomorrow. The American people have waited long enough for accountability. So he's laying out the hard truth and the deadline for charging Fauci over his lies on gain-of-function research. He also posted this today. Young people are developing myocarditis at record rates after receiving the COVID vaccine. Instead of reconsidering, the government silenced concerned doctors and the media called us liars, but the data speaks for itself. And he's posting a link to the Children's Health Defense website. Teens 5 times more likely to get myocarditis. So the numbers are climbing in young people. Rand Paul refuses to let up on the pressure. He was on a tear today. I'm sure Rand Paul is just furious with the situation that Fauci is about to walk. I know I am. I know you are. So whether the DOJ decides to charge Fauci or not, I am not letting up. He writes, in fact, later this week, I'm holding a hearing with a whistleblower. Maybe the American people will finally get the answers they've been looking for. So this is the headline on Fox News. Rand Paul vows to keep the pressure on Fauci as statute of limitations on criminal referral expires on Monday. Paul hosting a whistleblower hearing just 2 days after Fauci will be off the hook for lying to Congress. And he continued today, multiple posts. Remember when you recall the conspiracy theorists for questioning the origins of COVID? I was right there with you. Fauci dismissed the lab leak theory on every major network while his NIH was actively funding gain-of-function research at the Wuhan Institute of Virology. We actually reported on that, and we were attacked and mocked by all the mainstream outlets, Media Matters, BuzzFeed. They all came out after us because we simply asked the question, and we interviewed doctors who were then later vindicated for the truths they were telling. Massive, massive injustice throughout the entire pandemic. I know you remember. I remember very clearly what our channel had to go through and having to couch our words because we were afraid of anything we would say, videos getting deleted. I'm surprised we survived that moment. But Rand Paul's not letting up. He says scientists who agree with us were silenced, careers were destroyed, the COVID cover-up ran straight through our own public health bureaucracy. Today is the final day for the DOJ to charge Fauci, and he included this video as an attachment.
Likely jumped species from an animal reservoir into humans.
Lies.
And now is spreading among humans.
The mutations that it took to get to the point where it is now is totally consistent with a jump of a species from an animal to a human.
Are you calling for the closure of the wet markets? I think they should shut down those things right away. I mean, it boggles my mind because what we're going through right now is a direct result of that. And you have animals that come out of the wild that are sold at these open, what they call them, wet markets, where people buy these things for festive dinners or what have you. So there's every reason to believe that jumping of species from an animal reservoir occurred.
I am of the point of view that I still think the most likely etiology of this pathogen in Wuhan was from a laboratory, escaped.
So Dr. Redfield was mentioning that he was giving an opinion as to a possibility. But again, there are other alternatives, others that most people hold by. That the most likely origin is a natural origin from an animal reservoir to human. What they did is they cleaned out the markets as soon as it turned out that it was clear that there were clusters coming from the market, which, in typical fashion, I think trying to make sure that things don't get pointed to them, they probably got rid of the animals that were the intermediary hosts there.
The place of origin was not within the market itself.
No, I don't think you could say that. I don't think you can say that. I think you could say we don't know how and where it originated. There are wet markets in Wuhan that are ample opportunity for a virus to jump, but more likely that it's a natural occurrence from an animal reservoir to a human.
So it came from a wet market in the same place where there's this huge lab that does all the kind of development of exactly what this thing is. That's some coincidence.
It's a coincidence, but there are so many labs all over China that have both labs and wet markets. If it were in Beijing or Shanghai, you'd be saying the same thing. You have a coincidence. There are no lab leaks.
Unbelievable. Unbelievable. I can't even stomach watching this guy continue to lie through his face. That was a video of Fauci dismissing the lab leak that he made much worse. The same cover-up, including Fauci pushing the natural origin story in every network while his NIH funded the Wuhan lab. Senator Rand Paul has announced that this Wednesday a whistleblower will come forward to testify under oath about the COVID cover-up. Senator Paul knows public health agencies can only regain the public trust if the people who misled Americans are held accountable. The truth is coming. That is from the Maha Action account. So Paul bringing a whistleblower forward this week. And then we have this from President Trump. MJ Truth Ultra writing, did you know breathing in contaminated mist or dust is the most common form of transmission of the hantavirus pulmonary version? And that's, of course, what everyone's freaking out about now. President Trump talked about this.
We got word that bad things were happening in China right around the Wuhan clinic. And I was the one that said it was in the Wuhan clinic. Mm-hmm. And, I stuck with it, and it was absolutely. It came out of the Wuhan clinic. But you take a look, and what we did was, this was brand new. Nobody knew what the hell it was. There's dust. Somebody said there's dust coming in from China. And it's killing people in Italy, and it's killing people in France, and it's going to kill people here. And by the way, I shut it down to China. That was a big move. I saved thousands, hundreds of thousands of lives by doing it.
For that.
But honestly, I don't blame a lot of people because nobody knew what it was. Now we do understand it somewhat. Nobody really understands it even now fully.
And what's crazy, when I reflect on these moments and hearing Trump talk about shutting down China, I remember reporting about Nancy Pelosi going into the Chinatown in San Francisco and calling Trump a racist for locking down the flights from China. Unbelievable what we all had to go through. The lies, the gaslighting. But this guy, are they really going to let this scumbag walk free? And see, I was talking with someone today about this moment. This is the perfect opportunity for the Department of Justice to test the auto pen pardons. All they have to do is indict this guy on lying to Congress, as Rand Paul has submitted multiple DOJ referrals to. Indict him, and then he can say, well, I'm pardoned, and then we can challenge the auto pen. It's a double whammy. But we're not going to be... the clock's ticking, man. Fauci's about to walk. So the questions swirl about potential threats. The core demand stays the same. Hold Fauci accountable. Now, President Trump, today in the Oval Office, talking about the World Health Organization, about pulling out of it. Listen.
What do you think about the handling of the hantavirus by the U.S.?
I think fine.
Do you regret withdrawing from the WHO? Given that
No, I'm glad. So we were paying the World Health Organization $500 million a year. Look, it's a lot of money, but in the overall scope, it's not that much, but it's a lot of money. And we weren't being treated well, and they were making the wrong diagnoses. I was the one that said it came from Wuhan. They didn't say that. They refused to say that because they were totally owned by China. So I was saying it came from Wuhan. They didn't want to say that. Now it's turned out, I think it's been conclusive that it came from Wuhan. But I said that on the first day because I saw satellite pictures with body bags all over Wuhan. Literally all over Wuhan. So I said that they lied to me or they didn't know. So we were paying for, let's say, 350 million people. We were paying $500 million a year to the World Health Organization. That's a lot of money. What the hell are they going to do with that kind of money? And China was paying $39 million a year for 1.4 billion people. So I said, you got your story wrong because we should be paying about $10 million, not $500 million. And they were willing to negotiate, but it was so popular what pulled out. They gave us all wrong information. On COVID, they were totally wrong. And I looked today and I saw the same doctor that was there. He's a good politician. I don't know how the hell he kept his job, but he was there telling us about this. Now, the one thing with this one is that it's much harder to catch. And we've had it for it's been around for a long time. People are very familiar with it. So, I hope it's fine. All I can do is everything that a president can do, which is actually somewhat limited. But it seems like it is not easy to spread. In fact, it's in certain ways very hard to spread. We've lived with it for years, many years, and we think we're in very good shape. We're very careful. And Nebraska has done a fantastic job. They have a place there that those doctors are unbelievable, the job they've done.
He's referring to the biocontainment lab that those Americans were taken to when they left the ship. And now they're under quarantine for like 45 days, I believe. So this moment reveals the real power structure. The establishment counted on silence and the statute running out. Instead, they face hearings, whistleblowers, and a president who already proved he could walk away from captured global bodies. The truth that was buried under lab leak denials and silenced doctors is now moving into open testimony. We may not have justice for Anthony Fauci and his crimes against humanity, but it's not stopping. Rand Paul is not giving up. Only evidence under oath we'll see this week. So accountability starts when the powerful face consequences, not when the calendar runs out. So share this video so more Americans can see what the deadline really means, and drop a yes or no in the comments. Should the DOJ have charged Fauci before the clock expired? And make sure you text raw feed to 844-840-4963 right now to get direct updates. Bypass the algorithm, and you'll get notifications to your phone directly from me. And make sure you check out the Next News merch shelf below this video. Show your support. We keep pushing for the truth America deserves, so stay with us.
The system controls information. Information control is power. They don't want you to see this. The truth only survives together. They don't want this shared. Share this now.